episode 50. And as we move into the second year of Partners in Crime, we're celebrating again by getting rid of Mr. Dawes.
This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and...
Not the other one. Welcome to another episode of Partners in Crime. Not a live one now, thankfully. No more live ones for a little while. And no Bob this week either. He's currently cruising around Mexico somewhere. But I am joined this week by a special guest presenter, the wonderful Rachel Amphlett. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. I haven't been very well, I'll be honest. We had to jettison last week's episode because I was struck down with a rather severe chest infection, which was great fun.
You've had the plague?
I have had the plague. Well, I woke up with minor plague the day after we did our live episode. I think I had been burning a candle at both ends up until then. And of course, you know, me being me, the thing that I do when I wake up with a bit of a tight chest is go out in the garden and spend 4 hours digging it up in the wind and the rain.
So what you're really saying is that Bob gave you the lurgy and then went on holiday?
He did, yes, and he's now... He's now wonderfully cruising around Mexico doing talks on cruise ships and enjoying himself. But yeah, Monday morning was fun after having dug up my garden at the weekend and made my chest infection much worse. I woke up feeling as bad as I've felt in a long time. Could barely breathe. My wife decided that she would call the NHS helpline to see what we could do.
Oh my gosh!
See if we can get some antibiotics or something, because I couldn't get out of bed. There's no way I was getting to a doctor's surgery. So of course she rings them up, mentions the words middle-aged man and chest pain, and next thing I know, I've got an ambulance outside my house, 2 paramedics in my bedroom hooking me up to an ECG monitor while I'm in my bed. So yeah, that was lots of fun.
Well, you can always put that down to research one day.
I can, yeah. They were there very quick. I was very surprised, very impressed. But yeah, I had a temperature approaching 41 degrees, which apparently is extremely dangerous. No, and I was told that if they couldn't bring it down below 40 within the next 10 minutes, they were blue lighting me to the hospital. Which didn't happen, thankfully. I managed to get it down to 39.8.
Well done, sir.
And yeah, another week in bed, and here I am, alive and well.
You're sounding much better.
I'm feeling much better than I did. I'm still feeling like I constantly want to cough. There's still plenty there in my chest, but antibiotics are wonderful things.
They are. In small doses.
And there we are, right on time.
I'm sure I'll be joining you, because down here in Dorset we've had the plague too, but thankfully not as bad as that. This morning I'm seeing my first snow in 12 years.
Yes, because you've been in Australia, haven't you?
Yeah. It's really pretty out here. The sun's shining. It's we've had about half an inch of snow. Oh, so, wow. The dog's not convinced. It's the first time he's ever seen snow. So I might pop a video up later of him gallivanting around in the snow.
Well, we had none landed. We did have some come down yesterday, but it fortunately had rained just before, so the ground was too wet and it's not hung around, which is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully that'll be it for snow this winter.
As long as Dorset stays pretty and not dangerous, all good.
Dorset will always be pretty.
True.
I must say, while I was on my deathbed last week, I was feeling so rotten I didn't do any reading whatsoever. I should have done. I managed to finish the book that I was reading at the time, which was The Sudden Departure of the Frasers by Louise Candlish. I think I spoke about that a couple of weeks ago. Odd. I really enjoyed it, but it I don't know what it was. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't a really kind of psychological thriller. It was a nice, it was definitely a domestic, probably noir, I'd guess. You could describe it as. It wasn't as crimey or as thrilling as other books of hers that I've read recently. But yeah, it was very enjoyable. It was a bit of a different change of pace for me. Good characters and well written, and I enjoyed it. But just wasn't what I was expecting, I think, was what would be the way I would describe it.
Yeah, and it's sometimes good though to read something like that as a palate cleanse.
Yeah.
I've read everything this month. I've done a lot of reading this month. I've been really enjoying it. I've read everything from thrillers to non-fiction to dystopian to psychological thrillers. And it's really, I feel like I'm catching up on my reading. So I'm off to a great start this year. Currently reading and very much enjoying We Can See You by Simon Koenig. His latest one. That's good. I already have cover envy for it. Shall I read the blurb out?
Go on, yeah. Tell us what it's about.
Okay, so this is We Can See You by Simon Koenig. You have it all. Success, a beautiful home, a happy family. Until, in a heartbeat, it's gone. We've kidnapped your daughter, and we know everything about you, including the dark secrets from your past you thought were forgotten. We tell you not to contact the police, and that we'll know if you do, because we can see you. And now you know this is no ordinary abduction. It's worse. Within hours you're on the run with only one thought in your head, that you will stop at nothing to get your daughter back, even murder.
That sounds familiar.
I did have a little chuckle about that. I was like, ooh. Very different. Very different. Rest assured, it's off to a cracking start. I've demolished half the book in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
It really is a true page turner.
Excellent. And you know what they say, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
There you go.
I do love Simon's work, actually, so I'm definitely going to check that out. That's called We Can See You, is it?
It is, yeah.
Simon Koenig. Brilliant. Excellent. So that was top of your reading list this week?
Yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. Other books I've demolished and enjoyed. This month was The First Lady by James Patterson. And it's been years since I've read a Patterson book, but I just wanted something that was an easy read, an entertaining read. And that certainly ticked all the boxes there. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley.
Yeah.
Now, this is one that I've wanted to read for a little while since I saw it come out, and it intrigued me because the way it was set up about some old friends that gather together in a remote hunting lodge in the Scottish wilderness. When I was reading the blurb, there were echoes of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, which I love. That's one of my favourite books. Reading it, it's not up there with Agatha Christie. I mean, let's face it, it takes a lot for anyone to be up there with Agatha Christie. Something to aspire to, but not always get to, I think.
Yeah.
It was again a quick read, but I felt that it was hard to find sympathy for some of the characters, which I think is a shame. That's all I'll say on it, because we all have different reading tastes. But for me, there was just something missing from that.
Okay.
Dystopian thriller-wise, Vox by Christina Dolce.
Yeah.
An amazing read. Really, really enjoyed that. It's been too long since I've read a dystopian thriller. And that's whet my appetite for more. So if anyone's got any suggestions for what I might enjoy reading, having read and enjoyed that, feel free to drop me a line.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, dystopian's not something that I've read a huge amount of. If I'm not reading kind of crime and thrillers, I tend to stick to the non-fiction realms.
Well, I've got
just
a good one
to
for
kind
you
of center
about
myself in reality a little bit, because I'm always constantly living in a fictional
always daydreaming.
world.
Yeah. So Vox, here's the blurb for Vox. Jean McClellan spends her time in almost complete silence, limited to just 100 words a day. Any more, and 1,000 volts of electricity will course through her veins. Now the new government is in power, everything has changed, but only if you're a woman. Almost overnight, bank accounts are frozen, passports are taken away, and 70 million women lose their jobs. Even more terrifyingly, young girls are no longer taught to read or write. For herself, her daughter, and for every woman silenced, Jean will reclaim her voice. This is only the beginning.
Wow.
And that was a really good read. Absolutely smashed through that.
1,000 words a day they're limited to?
100.
100 words a day, wow.
Yeah, and that includes words that you can read.
Oh, okay. So it's not even just what you speak, it's
a really interesting concept.
Wow. I was going to say, I need to get one of those machines for my wife if it limits her to 100 words a day.
There's a lot of joking about that, and I was like, yeah, wait for it. But it's terrifying, the effect that it has on the people around them, their husbands, the brothers, the men in their lives. And yeah, a real good thriller.
That's scary though. If it's words that you read as well. I mean, I'm looking at my desk here. I've got a pack of batteries on my desk. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 words I can see on the pack of this front of this pack. That's 10% of my allowance gone.
Yeah, and you think about all the advertising that we're subjected to.
Yeah.
Every moment of our lives. It's worth reading. It was a brilliant concept, and again, it was one of those books I've had my eye on for a while that I wanted to spend the time and absorb, and I'm really glad I did.
What was that called again?
Vox by Christina Delcher.
Vox. Okay, excellent. Of course, it's worth recommending at this point in time that people buy their books from Kobo. As a listener to Partners in Crime, you can use the promo code CRIME at the checkout at kobo.com, and the lovely folks at Kobo will give you 90% off of your first ebook purchase, and that offer will be changing soon as well. We've negotiated an improved offer for ongoing Kobo readers as part of our second year of sponsorship with them. More on that in future shows.
Well, congratulations.
Well, yes, thank you very much. We're in year 2 now, would you believe?
Who'd have thought it?
Well, not me. Oh,
you have little faith.
Well, something else that we've spoken about and touched on a few times in previous episodes of Partners in Crime is this crossover between true crime and crime fiction. There's a lot of things popping up on things like Netflix, lots of true crime podcasts, and we've spoken a couple of times about whether it's right to kind of be romanticising the real life crimes. Crime fiction is one thing, and we all know that at the end of the day it's not real. But when we're talking about crimes that have happened, and where real people have been harmed and killed, and real families and communities have been torn apart, is it right to be romanticising those crimes and to be kind of talking about them and giving them the airtime? It's something that's popped up a couple of times. And we spoke a few weeks back about a new Netflix film, I think it is, or series, about Ted Bundy with Zac Efron in it. I, again, postulated the possibility this might not be an ideal thing to be happening. We had a little chat about it, and what do you know, in the news this week, I've seen 2 pieces about it. There's a piece in The Guardian this week where they were talking about it's an opinion piece by Suzanne Moore with the headline, "Ted Bundy was deeply mediocre, so why are we romanticising him?" And I also saw something else in the news this morning, the long and short of it being that Netflix were asking viewers to stop referring to Ted Bundy as sexy. Which, for one of the world's most notorious serial killers who murdered at least 30 women and may have killed up to 100 people, is quite an odd word to use. This again is a subject that rears its ugly head. Bob and I have kind of done it to death, really, if you'll pardon the pun. But I just wonder what your thoughts were on that kind of crossover between true crime and entertainment.
I don't think there should be a crossover, and that is just my opinion. I mean, I read a lot of true crime, but for research purposes. I don't want to sit down of an evening and watch a TV programme about it. And I think it's interesting what you say about the different opinions about it, and that's fine, everyone's had an opinion. I thought it was quite touching on Twitter yesterday morning. I saw someone, I think it was in the trending, in the search feed under trending news, and a chap in America, I think he's in America, he actually posted a thread about each of the victims, saying, let's not forget them. These are real people, who had families, who died in horrific circumstances. And he wrote a short post with a photograph for each of the victims that were known about. And it was heart-wrenching.
Well, the last paragraph of this article that Suzanne Moore wrote in The Guardian on Monday this week, I'll read you the last paragraph, actually, because I think that sums it up perfectly. She says, "I abhor this worshipping at the shrine of a mediocre rapist that much true crime and fiction consists of. No one is making these men heroes, some bright spark will argue. Really? Bundy is long gone, executed in 1989, and here he is again, alive in our minds, immortal and sexualised. No longer ordinary. It is still all about him, again. Can you name me one, just one, of the young women whose lives he took?" And that's the point, isn't it? Everything is about, we all know the names of these serial killers, and we know the cases, but how often do we remember the names of the people whose lives were destroyed?
I think that's very true. There was a television series, I think it was on earlier this month, that I really got drawn into, and that was Manhunt, starring Martin Clunes, where it was from the perspective of the police officers going after the serial killer, and the effect. I think they showed the effect that it had on the families as well, extremely well. And I enjoyed that, but I think that's very different from the Bundy series that's on at the moment.
Yeah, Manhunt was very much not about the killer. That was very much about the case, about the chase, and as you say, about the families as well who were affected. So yeah, that was very sensitively done, I think.
I think so. Yeah,
it wasn't sensationalised. It's a story that's those of us who were sort of paying attention to the news at that time were well aware of. It's something I was well aware of because I was a similar age to the girls that were killed in that story. So, yeah, seeing that from a different angle and the mistakes that were made and the lessons that were learned, I think that is something that is valuable. It wasn't sensationalised, and I think that was nicely done.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to do something like that, that's the way to do it. That's the way I prefer to see it done. Yes.
Crime is across all different platforms and media at the moment, and one of the things we talk about quite a lot on Partners in Crime is stage adaptations of crime, and we've been talking about Peter James's new stage play as well, which is currently touring, House on Cold Hill, and I saw a review of it in
good, because I want to see this. I'm hoping that it tours further down towards the southwest.
Yeah, well, I think it's popping up all over the place, and we're going to do a Partners in Crime outing to go and see it in Milton Keynes, I think, in
that's a good idea.
Couple of months' time, and hopefully speak to some of the cast and get them on Partners in Crime. But yeah, it's Rita Simons, who was Roxy Mitchell in EastEnders and was recently on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and it's Joe McFadden as well, I think, who won Strictly Come Dancing, and recognised theatre actor as well. So yeah, it's got a very good write-up in this local newspaper here. It's a great book as well, so I'm really interested to see how that's been adapted for the stage. And great write-ups so far. So that hopefully is going well.
I look forward to that show. That'd be good.
Well.
Yeah, that'd be good to hear. If you can get behind the scenes and everything, and speak to the cast as well. Yeah. In a few weeks, that'd be. Look forward to that.
Yeah. And something else interesting I found. Christ knows how. But High Plains Public Radio in Kansas did a short documentary on the history of crime fiction last week, which was quite interesting. You can find that on hppr.org, talking about the origins of crime fiction with sort of Edgar Allan Poe and Murders in the Rue Morgue, which is kind of meant to be one of the first crime fiction books, which was written in 1841, and people go back to Wilkie Collins and
the Moonstone,
Moonstone, yes, and he kind of talks about how then Arthur Conan Doyle kind of took on the genre and made that his own, and then you had people like Agatha Christie, Dorothy L. Sayers coming in, Marjorie Allingham, Ngaio Marsh, and how crime just kind of ran away and became its own genre. It's a fairly short documentary, but very interesting, I thought, from High Plains Public Radio in Kansas.
Oh, that sounds good. Will you put the link in the show notes?
I will attempt to do so.
Excellent stuff.
And one other thing I saw in the news, which was very interesting, we talk quite a lot as well on Partners in Crime about how crime fiction is often used to reflect reality and to make some kind of social commentary. And the author Don Winslow was writing in an online magazine called Vulture about his books. Vulture, they asked writers to kind of reflect on the ethics of violent crime in their books, and Don Winslow wrote an article about his new book, The Border, which is titled not the book, the article is titled, "I write fiction about border crime, but unlike Trump, I tell the truth." Which, provocative and topical. And for me, everything that crime fiction should be, really. It's he's making a political commentary. He's perhaps kind of poking a few people or one person in particular. And the book is, his books are very much about kind of drugs, cartels, the relationship between Mexico and America, and the borderlands around there. So he's been writing about that for about 20 years now, but it's never been more relevant than it is now.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. That's what I like about crime fiction, is that writers can explore social issues.
Yeah.
So, and as a reader, you're exposed to things that you wouldn't necessarily learn about on the news or go out of your way to find out about. And suddenly you've got it wrapped up in a story that makes it so much more easier to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, and crime fiction seems to do well at a time when the world is in a state of flux, when we're not sure if there's going to be a happy ending. And in crime fiction, the bad guys are caught, good triumphs over evil. And if you look back at the times when crime fiction has been at its biggest, we're looking at the 1920s, 1930s, when there's big period of major social and political upheaval. And now, just in the last 2-3 years, we've seen some massive changes around the world, and coincidentally, crime fiction has become the most read genre in the world as well. And at times when things were actually doing very well, perhaps in sort of the 90s and 2000s, when the world was relatively stable, things like dystopian fiction were much bigger. Disaster films like 28 Days Later and things were very big. So there's kind of this yin and yang effect, I think. The more stable the world is, the less stability we want from our fiction, and vice versa.
Exactly. And whereas right now we need closure. Yeah, and we need the bad guys being caught. So that's it's very interesting to see how that goes, and the fact that perhaps we are in a business where we actually get to profit from misery. We thrive on disruption.
Excellent. Another demagogue elected. Brilliant. That'll increase the sales.
He rubs hands together.
It's a very odd thing, and perhaps I've got too much time on my hands to be thinking about these things, but sometimes from literary circles, genre fiction can kind of be sneered upon, and people can think, well, what benefit does it have?
In my personal opinion, anybody that sneers about genre fiction needs a slap.
well, indeed, yeah, and I'm starting to see why. But it's not that. It's not that it doesn't provide anything, or it's just entertainment. I think, as we're seeing now, the kind of social and political commentaries and the reasons why people read those books perhaps go a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Yep, well, there you go. Interesting to me, probably not to anyone else. We've probably lost our audience
that's our
now.
deep thoughts for the week.
Seeing as you are a guest presenter this week, you have been on the show before as well as a guest, but for those of you who might have missed that episode, can you tell them a little bit more about yourself and about your books and why they should absolutely go and buy those from Kobo?
Oh, thank you. Well, Kobo are wonderful supporters of my writing. So I write crime fiction, police procedurals and spy thrillers, which is why I love all this stuff. I just soak up things. You can find me at rachelamphlett.com. All of my books are available in ebook, paperback, large print and audiobook. And I've had a new release, book 7 in the Detective K Hunter series earlier this month, Bridge to Burn. And I'd like to say thank you to all the readers and bloggers while I'm here for your very kind support this month, helping me to launch that book. Brilliant. Is it going well? It's going very well, thank you. Yes. Good, yeah, good. And I love writing that series. I love writing everything that I write, to be honest. I have so much fun. I'm working on a standalone novel as a bit of a palate cleanse at the moment, and the words are just flying, which, as you know, is unusual. Most of the time you just sit there banging your head against the desk. But these characters of mine, they're nasty. I don't like them, but hey, it's the words are the words are flying. So I
the Kay Hunter
shall
series
seize the
has been
moment.
so popular as well, hasn't it? That's really, I mean, the books you had before were popular anyway, but that's kind of really sort of taking on a new lease of life completely, isn't it?
Changed my life. I mean, the first one came out in December 2016, Scared to Death, and I haven't looked back since. There's something about, and I think it's because it's a team. It's not about one detective.
Yeah.
It's about the whole team. As police investigations really do work, and it just gives me so much scope.
Well, it's a brilliant series.
Thank you.
I'm a fan myself, and I think if you're listening to this, and if you're not already a Kobo reader, head over to kobo.com, find Rachel's books, and if you enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout, you get 90% off of your first purchase from Kobo.
Oh, in that case, then I'll recommend the box set of books 1 to 3.
Yes, of course, get the box. Yes, Rachel will still get the same royalty. Kobo take the hit, those beautiful people, and you'll get 90% off. And you don't need a Kobo device, although they are excellent. I've got two myself. You can get the free app for your mobile device, smartphone or tablet, and you can read on there with, as you say, get a box set of all of Rachel's books with 90% off. What more could you want?
Lovely. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for guest hosting with me this week.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
I think I'm about done. My
your voice giving out.
Yeah, my voice is held out. My chest is held out for half an hour, so I'm not going to push it too much further. Bob, I believe, unfortunately, will be back next week.
Well, thank you for letting me keep his chair warm.
Well, that's fine. You don't drink half as much coffee as he does either. So
well, there you go. Always a bonus.
That's always a bonus as well. Yeah, he's not drinking me out of house and home. So
top up the supplies for next week.
Yes, and hello to Bob if you're listening to this somewhere off the coast of Mexico. Not at all jealous as I look out on my freezing cold Bedfordshire garden. Oh, I know. He went off and did one round. Where was he? He'd been off somewhere else as well on a cruise, something around sort of Spain way, somewhere like that. He's been doing these talks about his acting career and his writing, everything like that, and basically doing his very own "This Is Your Life" autobiographical Bob Dawes show on these cruise ships. Having a wonderful old time. Of course he is. It's I said to him, you need to get me some of that. So if you ever get a booking for one,
where are we going wrong?
Yeah. So if you get a booking for one, you can't do it. If you're double books, then send them my way. That sounds like a great way to spend the week. But yeah, I'm going to spend the week sitting here looking at the cold, and when he comes back and talks about Mexico, I'm going to have my fingers in my ears. And I'm not going to let him mention it on next week's show either.
Okay, challenge.
That's his punishment. Thank you very much, Rachel. And,
more than welcome, thank you.
Hopefully, next time he's off cruising around the world, we can have you back again as a Partners in Crime guest presenter.
Thank you very much.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft
Not the other one.
and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.